7 people died after taking a common painkiller. No suspects, no motive. An entire nation panicked. This is the unbelievable story of the Tylenol murders. The year was 1982, and the setting was the quiet, unsuspecting suburbs of Chicago. In homes across the area, a familiar red and white box sat in medicine cabinets, a trusted remedy for headaches and fevers, extra-strength Tylenol. But someone had turned this symbol of relief into a deadly weapon. Within days, a series of mysterious deaths began, each one sudden, shocking, and seemingly random. It all started on the morning of September 29th. A 12-year-old girl, Mary Kellerman, woke up with a cold. Her parents gave her a Tylenol capsule. Minutes later, she collapsed on the bathroom floor and died. That same day, a postal worker named Adam Janis also took a Tylenol for a minor ache. He died shortly after. His grieving family gathered at his home, and in their distress, his brother Stanley and sister-in-law Teresa took Tylenol from the same bottle. They both died as well. 3 deaths in one family from the same house. At first, authorities were baffled. But then, 2 quick-thinking paramedics and a nurse noticed a common thread. Each victim had taken Tylenol just before their death. The remaining capsules from the Janis home were sent for testing. The results were terrifying. The capsules were laced with potassium cyanide, a fast-acting poison that could kill a person with a dose smaller than a grain of rice. Panic erupted. News alerts blared across televisions and radios, warning the public not to take Tylenol. Police cars with loudspeakers drove through neighborhoods, urging people to throw away their bottles. In a matter of hours, a brand that represented safety and trust became a symbol of terror. Stores pulled every single bottle of Tylenol from their shelves nationwide. The manufacturer, Johnson & Johnson, faced an unprecedented crisis. 31 million bottles, worth over $100 million, were recalled. The investigation became a frantic race against time. How did the cyanide get into the capsules? Was it a disgruntled employee at the factory? Or was this the work of a sophisticated and sadistic killer, someone who bought the bottles, tampered with them at home, and then secretly returned them to store shelves to be purchased by unsuspecting victims? Investigators discovered that the poisoned bottles came from different factories, but were all sold in the Chicago area. This suggested the tampering happened after the product had already reached the stores. The killer was likely a local phantom, moving silently through drugstores and supermarkets. The randomness was the most frightening part. Anyone could have been a victim. The case wasn't just a series of murders. It was an attack on the very fabric of society, on the trust we place in the everyday products we consume. The nation held its breath, wondering where the poisoner would strike next. As the body count rose to 7, the FBI joined the massive investigation. They tested over 1 million recalled capsules, a monumental task. The media frenzy was intense, with daily headlines fueling the public's fear. Copycat attacks and false alarms began to pop up across the country, further straining law enforcement and creating widespread paranoia. People started looking at every sealed product with suspicion. Was the milk safe? Was the bread safe? The Tylenol killer hadn't just murdered 7 people. They had poisoned America's sense of security. Amidst the chaos and fear, a strange letter arrived at the headquarters of Johnson & Johnson. The letter demanded $1 million to stop the killing. It was a classic extortion plot. The author claimed responsibility for the poisonings. This was the break investigators had been waiting for. They traced the letter to a man named James Lewis, a disgruntled accountant with a history of grievances. He and his wife were tracked down in New York City after a nationwide manhunt. Lewis admitted to writing the letter, but he fiercely denied being the killer. He claimed he only wanted to exploit the crisis to extort money from the company and embarrass his wife, his former employer. The evidence against him for the murders was purely circumstantial. Investigators could never place him in Chicago at the time of the poisonings, and there was no physical evidence linking him to the cyanide or the tampered bottles. The FBI was in a tough spot. They had their man for extortion, but they couldn't prove he was the murderer. In the end, James Lewis was convicted of extortion and sentenced to prison. He served 13 years, but was never charged with the 7 murders. The question that haunted everyone remained unanswered. If Lewis didn't do it, who did? Who was the faceless killer that managed to outsmart one of the largest manhunts in American history? To this day, the FBI officially considers the case unsolved. The Tylenol murderer, the person responsible for this act of domestic terrorism, may have simply walked away free, melting back into the society they had terrorized. The Tylenol murders, though a tragedy, became a catalyst for massive change. Before 1982, it was common for medicine bottles to have simple screw-off caps. The tamperings exposed a huge vulnerability in product packaging. In response, Johnson & Johnson pioneered the development of tamper-resistant packaging. They introduced triple-sealed containers with foil seals, plastic neckbands, and other protective layers that are now standard on almost every product we buy, from medicine to food. They also replaced the vulnerable capsule form with a solid caplet, which is much harder to tamper with. The company's handling of the crisis is still studied today as a masterclass in corporate responsibility. By prioritizing public safety over profits with their immediate and massive recall, Johnson & Johnson managed to rebuild public trust and successfully reintroduce Tylenol to the market. But the legacy of the murders runs deeper than just packaging. It permanently changed our relationship with consumer goods. It taught us a harsh lesson that the things we assume are safe can be turned into weapons. The case remains a dark chapter in American history, a chilling reminder of how easily our world can be turned upside down. The families of the 7 victims, Mary Kellerman, Adam Janus, Stanley Janus, Teresa Janus, Mary Reiner, Mary McFarland, and Paula Prince, were left without justice. Their loved ones were killed by a faceless stranger for no apparent reason. Over the years, the investigation has been reopened, new leads have been followed, and even DNA technology has been applied to the old evidence, but the killer has never been identified. So, who was it? A disgruntled chemist? A random sociopath seeking chaos? Or was it James Lewis after all? A cunning manipulator who managed to cover his tracks perfectly? What do you think really happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you're fascinated by mysteries that challenge everything you think you know, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories that will keep you guessing. See you next time.